Happy Easter, Stephen. So, it's Easter Sunday. I'm vlogging. Weirdo. It's Easter Sunday. The sermon was about, new life coming with spring, and that's why we have Easter in spring. But as you know, it snowed on the 4th.
Stop being so vain.
I'm not being vain. Not being vain. This is a nightmare. I thought it'd be a nice thing to do, but no. So I finally found a quiet spot. The sermon was about Easter being new life coming from things that appear to be dead. Jesus. And he used the metaphor of the fact that we have Easter at springtime, and that there's new life springing around. Spring. I'm gonna leave that in, aren't I? But I had a thought. I was saying to you a while back when we went to the Natural History Museum, something similar. We have evidence just 4 days ago that it was snowing in the middle of April. Now, this isn't a normal spring thing. I'm willing to accept that we don't necessarily know exactly when all of the stuff that is preached happened. And it makes sense for early Christians to put it in a springtime environment because of the metaphor. So my thought was, if that's so important, then if our seasons shift so that this is no longer spring, say this becomes the back end of winter in the coming years, do we move Easter as well, or do we leave it where it is? Thieves beware. Do we shift it to keep the metaphorical implications going when spring happens to come up in June or May? Or do we keep it where it is? You can't see this, but it's raining right now. My camera's not good enough to pick it up because it's the horrible little rain that, it's tiny. It's not actual real rain. It's just like haze. Like a haze of water vapour. You require that for life. I mean, that's just basic biology, isn't it? Snow is something different. Snow and frost kills new life. And the magnolia plants in our garden, they only bloom once, and they bloom for about a day on the 3rd of April, and then the snow happened and they died. Literally the next day. This isn't very useful for the propagation of their species, and they're probably still only alive because they're pretty, because we cultivate them. And that's what I'm saying. Do we keep Easter where it is and deliberately cultivate it, or do we move with the times and put it where its spirit lies? As our ecology changes, as it's bound to do if the climate keeps changing the way it is, do we so change our traditions? It makes me wonder, thieves beware. Thieves, just beware. It makes me wonder and think, do Australians have snow on their Christmas cards? Because that's a similar thing, isn't it? If it so happens that it's late summer when Christmas turns up in a few years' time, a decade maybe, do we still sing In the Bleak Midwinter? Despite now knowing that there's no winter, not in the story, because they're in the middle of the desert and not around us. I mean, we're lucky if we have snow anyway. I say lucky. Who likes snow? It's cold and wet and horrible. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I now have to go off and eat lunch with my family. I say that as if it's going to be a horrible thing. It's not. I'm going to enjoy it. I'll see you tomorrow, if the internet connection allows me to.